Morning and welcome, Patriot News Hour. Joe and Jason wrapping up September. Man, where does the time go? The election just around the corner. We've got MLB playoff implications today for the Diamondbacks. Boy, they had a chance. All they could, win 2 out of 3. It was going to be fine. No, couldn't pull it off. Now we need a sweep today. The Braves or the Mets, we don't care who. Somebody just win both games because their games got postponed because of Helene. Man, our prayers go out to those people. The death toll continuing to rise, over 100 people, and I think it's going to get quite a bit more than that. But again, I think, you know what's so funny? Florida, only 2 of them were in Florida. See, the Carolinas is where most of the others reside. We'll see. This thing looks like it just keeps getting worse. The insurance numbers I'm seeing now, maybe $100 billion or more. I mean, wow. And apparently there's another storm brewing. We'll see. Let's hope not. But we'll keep our eyes out for that. And you know what? It has been 1 million degrees here in the Valley of the Sun. Another record breaker all week this week again. Come on, it's like almost October now. Enough already. Me and my buddies were out on the golf course this weekend. We had a men's club event. Dude, they were falling like flies. I'd say, 8, maybe 10 golfers. They couldn't even finish. They're like, nope. I'm going down because of heat stroke. Apparently, I loved it. The hotter, the better. I played my best round of golf this year. So congratulations to me. Now, granted, it doesn't hurt that a bunch of guys had to drop out. But, hey, when I win, I'll take it any way I can get it. Speaking of winning, you want to win in this? World War III, and I guess Israel's getting ready to go into Lebanon now, and apparently there was a new map being displayed where Israel's like, well, you know what? Maybe we'll just start taking more stuff. And by taking it, they mean take it. We'll see what happens, but call the toll-free number. You'll win 800-951 0592. I mean, we called this the year. I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was going to be it's an election year, so, the Russia-Ukraine thing, so calling it the year of chaos, maybe not that big of a stretch, but this thing has blown it all away. It's just incredible, all the things that are happening. Lynette Zhang, we got another great Lynette Zhang video up at allamericangold.com. If you guys want to check that out, it's going to be a busy week. By the way, we have a little bit of a pullback in gold. We saw it Friday into today. Jay Powell's talking this afternoon. I think today is the day. If you want to get in on a pullback, today is your day, because after that, we've got jobs week this week. So starting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll get all the jobs numbers. We have the head of the ECB, the EU, and, of course, Jerome Powell. They're all talking at the same place. Today, that starts in a few hours. But, Jason, we haven't seen very many pullbacks in the market in gold. And when we do, they don't seem to last very long. And remember, we're looking any type of bad news. I guess the lower the jobs number, the better. If they can get the jobless claims number to tick up, the better. Let's not forget, Boeing's on strike. Those things just completely broke down. Apparently, they're not even talking right now. And now companies that supply Boeing are starting to, they got a furlough. What else can they do? A furlough's a nice word for layoff, right? Furlough is a nice word for laid off because, hey, I know what they're saying. Hey, as soon as the strike's over, we'll hire you back. But you're out of a job. I don't care what word you put on it. And then tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, the longshoremen all over the East Coast are supposed to walk off their jobs. So, Jason,
just 15 hours till October, right? And then 5 weeks till the election, and we'll just keep seeing. I mean, the union's not endorsing the Democrat presidential candidate is why they're timing this strike the way they are tomorrow. It's pretty obvious, right, Joe, that this is a bargaining chip, and who's going to crack, and I have a feeling nobody wants to crack in this thing. It's severe economic implications, which could be reversed as quickly as they resolve it. So if this thing goes to the election and they go on strike and they don't pay these people what they want, and I don't. Did you see the leader of the union? The guy is. I'm going to smash you. He's using these really strong words. What he's going to do, right, and how he's going to walk out. I mean, they have a tough dude running their union. So
the longshoremen. Remember, you got to understand what they're talking about. Like Boeing, the machinists, they got offered 30% raise over 6 years. They're like, no, that's not enough. It's not enough. I can just imagine what the longshoremen on the East are wanting. Remember, there was a
70%.
So I was just going to say, we had that strike approach on the West, and what they got, what the East Coast guys are, that makes what the West Coast guys probably wouldn't want to strike again after what the East Coast guys want. These are huge numbers with huge implications. By the way, there was of all of the Helene things, there may be a bridge in North Carolina which leads to a mine site that is used to make the old chips. That may be the most important thing in all of it. We'll see. Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy what's going on out there. We'll be right back. We're back here, the half-empty cup, Joe and Jason. Quick look at the markets. The Dow and the S&P are down. The Nasdaq's flat right now. Again, I think they're going to wait for Jay Powell, who's talking in a few hours. More indication, I think you better jump on this. So report, and I don't know. They leak stuff on purpose all the time. They're expecting a very dovish Jay Powell. Now, he talked on Friday or Thursday or Friday, but he didn't talk about the economy. This time he's going to. Right now, people believe he is going to be very open to another 50 basis point rate cut, if you can believe that. Crude oil is up. Like I said, gold and silver, a little pullback here. Gold's down $25, $26.35. I was hoping for more, to be honest with you. Really it was, but we'll see. I mean, we'll take what we can get. Right now, silver's down 50 cents, $31.10. And again, just the fact that these people are talking about Jay Powell is going to be very open to another 50 basis point rate cut tells you all you really need to know. How bad are things really underneath? Because let's face it, the surface looks okay to me. I'm sure the surface looks okay to a lot of people. What's not okay is what's going on with the dollar. By the way, down to 58% and falling. The dollar's lost 8% of market share in the last 10 years. And here's the problem with that. I think it's picking up steam. Right? We got that big BRICS meeting coming at the end of this month. And it's already down to 58%. What happens at 50 or 45%? All of that, I think, is coming in the next 5 years. In the next 5 years, we're going to have a Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security problem. No, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. I mean, they asked Joe Biden about the strike in Yemen. He responded with, he's talked to both sides, and he thinks that they can work a deal out. And they're like, wait, no, we're not talking about the port strike. I mean, this is the guy, listen, we apparently voted that guy for president. I'm not kidding. you may want to get more diversified. Just maybe. I mean, I don't. Again, I say it over and over. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter who wins, but it kind of does. Boy, could you imagine Kamala Harris as our next president? Yeah, that's not going to look too good. You may want to check out our friends over at YRefi. Get up to 10.25% fixed rate of return, not correlated to the stock market, doesn't care about Jay Powell, the jobs, doesn't care about World War III or New World Maps or anything else. You can turn your income on, you can turn it off, you can do what? They don't charge fees, they don't attack principal. I mean, what's not to love? Got to have a minimum of $50,000. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or just call them at 888-YREFI24. 888-YREFI24. 888-973-3924. How about this? Goldman Sachs. Over the weekend, they released their U.S. dollar forecast, saying that the dollar is going to continue to weaken. They predict that the euro and the pound are going to rise. Why? Because, well, Europe's not really cutting rates. Right? We're in rate cut mode. And, of course, Europe, their debt problems aren't great, but ours is worse. They're saying that, in their view, the dollar will weaken to levels that we haven't seen, Jason, going back to the 90s and even to the 80s, where the dollar put a big rally on during, when Paul Volcker was the head of the Fed. But another example of banks saying, don't be on the wrong side of this dollar trade. And, of course, what does that mean? Jason, to me, that screams inflation, right? Because let's face it, what they're saying is it's going to take you more dollars to buy the same amount of stuff. And by the way, we expect the dollar to weaken all across the board, and I think a lot of people, Jason, are seeing the same thing. How does this really work when we've got these record deficits on top of the fact that all of a sudden now we're talking about rate cuts to where a lot of people, including myself, I think we're going to get a Fed funds rate below 3% before this is done.
Yeah, well, I mean, they position themselves with the numbers to get these lower inflation, keys for the CPI and whatnot. But between the hurricane and the striking on the East Coast, what little lower inflation period that we're going to have these next few months might just disappear instantly. Those two things combined this week could literally get rid of their low inflation numbers. I mean, how do you get? What are these companies? I mean, would Walmart on Friday declared an emergency? Did you see that, Joe? Walmart has declared an emergency, I think, because of this strike. They see it. They know that that this is going to have to rearrange how they ship goods across this country. That just makes things cost more. And then you have $100 billion or more damages due to a hurricane. This nice little spot where they were going to have these lower prices until next year when they start printing and the government starts spending and the inflation comes back. They may not get it, Joe. So you're right. I think you are right with the goal until this week rolled around.
Yeah.
I think they're going to easily do the half-point drop on the next meeting, and then they're going to be lucky if they can drop it again. I don't know if they'll be able to drop it again if things get worse in the next 2 months.
I like that thought. Because if the Boeing strike, which seems like it's not ending at all, matter of fact, that's going to get worse. I'm expecting Boeing to be downgraded at any time now to junk status. On top of that, the longshoreman strike, already Walmart has warned. I want to say Dollar General has warned. Clothing's, ports do different things. Most of the clothing, for whatever reason, flows through the eastern ports. So apparel is going to be an issue the longer this goes on. And you got to remember now, back when I was in retail, we always had these big back rooms, and they would be packed, be packed with product. They don't do that anymore. They've gotten the supply chain so efficient, right? When everything's working right, hey, we don't need to have stuff in the back, right? And of course, why would a retailer not want to have stuff in the back? Well, pretty simple. We got more cash flow, right? We can make our numbers look better. It's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen.
Bad.
But it will be very bad very quickly. To Jason's point, I think it can recover pretty quickly. But you're right. If these things go on just for a couple of weeks, you can almost guarantee that there'll be another 50 basis point rate cut. You can almost guarantee it.
I saw a chart of imports that come in through the East Coast and the Gulf, which... Well, who's going to want to import through the Gulf until the hurricane's done? But 98% of steel that is, I know we make some steel here, but of imports of steel, 98% comes to the East Coast and the Gulf. I think copper was like 95%. Things that we still manufacture and make some things here, but still of a lot of the commodities, Joe, that are imported, it's the high 90 percentile comes in through the East Coast. So whoever uses those materials is going to charge you more, which that could be pretty much everything, right, Joe?
It's going to be very, very interesting, especially with all the rebuilding that needs to be done in the East. There's still over 2 million people without power. I don't know how this is going to work out. Based on what I'm reading and seeing where the longshoremen are, where Flexport is, this gap is huge. They're not even in the same ballpark. Like I said with Boeing today, the machinists just said, screw it. We'll just keep sitting. We don't need to talk until you come up with something a whole lot better than what you're already offering. And it's going to be it's almost like this perfect storm where all of a sudden now today you're hearing from all these Boeing suppliers saying we're going to start furloughing workers. And then you talk about the longshoremen, like Jason said, listen, when this stuff dries up and it's not there, prices go up. That's just what happens. Right. It really is. It's astonishing to think about it.
All the Atlantic shipping is going to go through the Panama Canal and go to the West Coast. Doesn't this just sound exactly like the fake emergency of COVID when we had ships off the coast of California? Isn't this the exact same thing, Joe? Was COVID really what was going on? Or was this what was going on and we're seeing it again just a few years later? And here comes the inflation. The inflation is going to come back really fast, Joe, if they don't get on top of it.
It's not inflation, Jason. It's just a supply chain problem. That's all it is. See,
it's a supply chain issue.
See, yeah, it's a supply chain problem. It's not inflation. Oh, yeah, no, don't worry. It'll go right back down. Remember, that's what they went a whole year with it'll go right back down. Yeah, until it didn't go right back down. But I will say this. I don't know how it's going to work. I think it's going to give the Fed amazingly more latitude to be more aggressive on rate cuts. And we'll see. I think today, like I said, I'm going to say it again. If these reports are right, everywhere I'm talking to, they expect Jay Powell to be very open to more 50 basis point rate cuts. If that's the case,
3/4 point. How about a 3/4 point
today? Right?
How about a 3/4 point? 3/4 point on the next meeting. If they have to get it down fast, and if inflation is going to come back sooner, they have to get it down quick, Joe. So you just watch. We got 4 more weeks till this next rate cut. 3/4 of a point is easily there now. If this is their goal to get it down, they don't have a very long timeline now.
When we get back, this is interesting. How bad is it? Allegedly, the Federal Reserve is trying to figure out a way of ensuring all depositors, insured, uninsured, they're having. They can't use the government to do it. And but Jason, I think this tells you they already know. I think they already know here that there's a problem that's coming in the banking industry, and they're going to figure out how to save their friends. This is what I think. I don't know that they're going to be able to pull it off, but the vice chair of the New York Fed made the remarks at the 10th annual Treasury Market Conference last Thursday. Yes, the Treasury Market Conference, the 10th annual. See, we have to have a conference now on the Treasury market to try to convince everybody that somehow we're in control of this out-of-control debt, and trying to figure out how can we try to insure all the uninsured deposits. They can't even insure the insured deposit. We got that. Oh, by the way, we've got a gold special, tiny gold special, below cost coming next. We're back here. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour. You're going to not want to miss this next segment, especially if you're not at a major U.S. bank. That's coming up next. But first, we have we take all kinds of stuff. You never know what's going to walk in the door next. We only have 3 of these. I know it's kind of weird to run a special when you only got 3, but it's a great opportunity. So we have 3. These are Valcambi gold bars. But here's the cool part about it. Why I'm telling you this may be something you want to jump on. These bars, you can break off the gold into 1/10 ounce bars. So you can take it's a 1 ounce bar that's breakable. It comes in a little card. It's in a holder. It's ready to go. You know, when you look at a 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagle right now, you're talking about $325, and we're the cheapest, $325. That's $3,250 to the ounce. We've got only 3 of these. They're a 1 ounce bar that you can break into 10 1/10 ounce bars if you desire. This is going to be below cost, $2,650. So you got a spot at $2,635. You're paying $15 over spot for an ounce of gold this morning. We've got 3 of those. And then Friday, I talked to you about platinum. We've been waiting for platinum. If you guys remember, I told you to dump your palladium and turn it into platinum. Palladium was like $1,900. And platinum was like $900. Well, now they're the same price, about $975. But I think platinum is setting itself up. If you've got, say, a 4-year time horizon here, I think you could very easily see $3,000 to $4,000 platinum, as platinum is now in a multi-cycle, a 5-year cycle of supply deficits. That's going to wipe out all the excess platinum that's available and really turn it into a winner. I've got 1 ounce platinum bars at $1,095, so barely $100 over on a platinum bar. So when I look at the other metals, so, we always talk gold, we talk silver. Platinum, palladium, rhodium are the other three metals. Without a shadow of a doubt, platinum has the most upside to it, and it's not even close. So while it's still below $1,000, and here's the funny thing, platinum is down $30 today. Right? You're getting a great opportunity here. And here's the funny thing. If Jay Powell's as dovish as they say today, I think you're going to see a big rally in the aftermarket. So jump on these things. 800-951-0592. We've got the three bars. They come in this nice little holder that break into 10th ounce. At the dumb price, I don't know what else to call it. Gold, $2,650, or 1 ounce platinum bars today at $1,095. So what was the Fed talking about at this Treasury conference? It is vital, they said, that uninsured depositors have confidence their funds will be readily available for withdrawal. They're nervous. They saw what happened with Silicon Valley. They were caught off guard. They really didn't think that was going to happen. Because who the hell heard of Silicon Valley Bank? Up and before that point. You know what? If you had never heard of Silicon Valley Bank when it went under, I bet you 99.95% of the people never heard of that bank. I do this for a living. I barely had heard of it. The confidence would be enhanced by a requirement that larger banks have readily available liquidity to meet requests for withdrawals of these deposits. By the way, they went on to say that, hey, this would be a big bank, larger bank requirement. It would not include the smaller banks. What? The Fed is talking about potentially trying to use the discount window and allowing them to borrow there. And Jason, it really is interesting because what they're talking about is, hey, when all these banks get wiped out, we're going to make sure the handful that are left are going to remain, and then all these other banks are going to be wiped out. Why wouldn't you include all the banks?
Right, Joe, right. I mean, I like the way you brought up the knowledge of Silicon Valley Bank. I didn't hear about that bank,
Yeah.
But look how quickly that spirals into an emergency. And that's a good way to bring that conversation in because we're talking about what's going on with hurricanes and longshoremen going on strike. But when it comes down to monetary, it's the banks, right? And if the banks aren't solvent, then all this stuff that we're talking about just leads, faster and faster into a banking problem. And so, Joe, the banks are just teetering. With this next cycle of what's getting ready to happen, how many banks do you suspect we'll have in the next 5 years going to 2030? Do we have 1,000? Is there going to be 1,000 banks? Is there?
Michael Barr, the Fed supervisor, said community banks would not be covered. And regulators would take a tiered approach to the requirement with collateral pre-positioned at the window, including both treasuries and a full range of assets that could be pledged to the discount window. We'll be back right after the break. 9510592. I still got all three of those bars. This is it's just an absolute steal. Breaking them into 10th ounce, and we have three. They're Valcambi bars, 1 ounce gold bars that you can break into 10 1/10 ounce bars, $2,650, and then 1 ounce platinum bars at $1,095 at 800-951-0592. If you're having problems with your cell phone, don't worry. There's a major outage expanding across the country. Apparently, it started with Verizon, which I have Verizon. You're in SOS mode right now. But now, all of a sudden, AT&T, T-Mobile, Spotify, Spectrum, U.S. Cellular, and more, Navy Federal Credit Union, all of them experiencing issues with their mobile devices and mobile banking. And, Jason, it is interesting. No reason given. Yeah, I don't know. This digital currency, how great that's going to be, right, when everything goes down. By the way, I don't know if you've seen it. No stores are open. All the places that don't have power. They put some generators at some gas stations so that at least you can get gas. But, yeah, you can't go to the store and buy anything. And when did that thing hit? That hit like Thursday night, Friday morning. I don't know. Could you imagine? It was like 100,000 degrees this weekend in Phoenix. I couldn't imagine not having any AC here. But, of course, maybe a little different back there. But if you're experiencing some difficulties with your wireless or mobile platforms, something's going on. I don't know what, but something's going on. By the way, Goldman Sachs saying, get ready. They're all but convinced $5 billion a day in supply chain is going to be disrupted at 12:01 right now. Goldman is starting to identify retailers that are going to be experiencing problems. Of course, Jason already told you Walmart already came out and said, hey, we're going to be affected by this. On top of that, we know Dollar General is going to have issues. No word on the supermarket chains. Food and clothing are different, right? You can wait a week to buy a pair of jeans, right? You can't. You can't wait a week if you need to feed your family. So I don't know yet. I haven't seen that from Goldman, but they're just laying out all of, just to give people an idea. Here's the following ports: Delaware, Boston, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, Wilmington, North Carolina, Hampton, Virginia, Savannah, Georgia, Mobile, Alabama, Tampa. Boy, Tampa's in trouble too. Boy, of course, they flood a lot. Tampa knows what they're doing down there. Charleston, South Carolina, Jacksonville, Miami, the Everglades, New Orleans, and Houston. These are all the ports that are going to be affected by this port strike. I mean, that literally, you take the whole East Coast, go down the East Coast, all the way over to Texas, and every single port is getting ready to walk off the job. What could possibly go wrong?
It's going to be tough, Joe, and it doesn't have the feel of a long strike. This doesn't really have the feel of a short strike, does it? I mean, are they going to be able to pay the 70% over however many years they're asking? Is that even close to being doable? And I don't know. The way the inflation's been going is 70% over, I don't know, is that 6 years, 8 years? Is that even going to be enough for them? It seems like someone says 70% over 8 years. I'm like, man, that doesn't sound like much of a raise if inflation's run 10, 12% a year, does it, Joe?
Well, Well, that's the thing. I bet you that's part of the problem, right? Which is, hey, we know the Fed's number's BS, right? Their number isn't the number. We need a number much bigger than that number. And you're right. When you throw it out, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they're probably like, wait, we've done that before. Right? We've done that before, and we get burned by it. Maybe that's the key. Maybe what they need to do is do short ones. Hey, we want 30% over 2 years, right? And then we'll come back in another 2 years and tell you how much more we want after that. But, this is a big, big deal. And now the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department, Janet Yellen, who, by the way, oversees the chair, what I was just talking about, looking for a way to only save the big banks. I mean, what are they saying here? They're telling every business in America, hey, we're working on this plan. By the way, if it happens, take your money out of all these community banks, because guess what? I think this is a nice way of telling them these banks aren't going to exist anymore anyway in the future. That's what it sounds like to me.
And even though the image we have, Joe, of immigration is, criminals coming across the southern border, that doesn't mean that all these immigrants coming in are unskilled workers, right? Are these longshoremen going to get paid, or do they think they have people coming into the country that can replace these workers? Hey, you can ask for 70%, but we're going to start cutting wages with these new trainees. I mean, there's a lot of new people coming in the country, right, Joe? This could be a long negotiation to get the ports back open, Joe.
We'll be back right after this. By the way, really quickly, Costco, gold's so good at Costco, they're going to sell even more stuff. Yeah. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Those gold bars are gone. The platinum bars at $1,095, 1 ounce platinum bars. If you're looking for a deal in gold, $20 gold pieces today. Let's just try to see what we can do here. $2,725. So that's a nice big savings here, getting you down. I mean, think about it. We had $2,700 on gold just on Thursday. Libs are Saints, our choice, $2,725. The 1 ounce platinum bars at $1,095. But, Jason, between what's going on with Israel in the Middle East, on top of what's the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which now they're talking maybe over $100 billion in insurance losses, then you had this little meeting nobody wanted to talk about with the Treasury and the Federal Reserve trying to figure out a way, just for the big banks, to try to make it to where the uninsured depositors, of course, who are they worried about? Remember, they saved these billionaires at SVB. They should have been whacked, and they didn't do it. And talking about, we'll let them use treasuries and other debt. Listen, if the banks got bank runs, that means the debt isn't even worth it. I mean, that's what happens. But the big thing in it that really caught my attention, these other banks, not them. Not them. I mean, that just makes no sense to me. I mean, you're essentially saying, it's okay, we'll let those banks go out of business. I mean, that's what they're going to help them go out of business. Because, gosh, if I was at a small bank and I'm a business owner and I've got, and I got to have big money in my account because I'm a business owner, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Now, it's not done. Listen, this hasn't happened. But just the fact that they're proposing it, I think, tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, banks are going to be less and less necessary in the new system, aren't they, Joe? I got this article I was reading about Israel, and we kind of don't want people to use cash and gold and silver. You saw that, last week. I'll have to read this article about how that gold is icky and cash is icky, and Hezbollah and Hamas use gold and cash, so we need to put a cap on that, right, Joe? the blueprint for our future is happening right there in the Middle East, Joe, when it comes to gold and cash. They really are going to try to put a stop to it. And that's the last vestiges of freedom you have monetarily is when whatever the currency is that you can physically hold, and which is, of course, devalued. And then gold and silver, which holds its price, holds its value. And if they want to come and stop you from using it in Israel, Joe, it's a lot of. We always say whatever starts in California the whole country ends up adopting it over time. Well, it looks like Israel is taking the lead a step in front of California as far as where we're headed, and yeah, it's not good, Joe. And these little banks that we use, these credit unions, they may go away. We may not see those in less than 10 years.
I can't believe it makes no sense to me, but yet here we are. Yeah, well, hey, Jay Powell's coming up a little bit. We'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it tomorrow. Take advantage of the pullback while there still is one. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. We're going to come right back with the half-empty cup.